It's been a long time ago, but it's still around and still rerun and still making a difference. That's right. Here is the song, the theme, the introduction that changed a whole lot of things. Here it goes.
You're traveling through another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind. A journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of imagination. Your next stop, the Twilight Zone.
Well, it is that kind of crazy theme that we begin the day. Hi, this is Stan Houston, and you are in touch. You are in tune with the Jesus Entrepreneur. We come your way from the Christian Entrepreneur Network, and we're here to perhaps take just a few minutes of your time, each kind of a late afternoon sliding into the evening. Some of you, because it, of course, is on-demand radio, you'll take care of it later in the day, maybe later in the week. You'll kind of put them all together. One guy said, I love your 15 to 20 minutes, and so what I do is I kind of just wait and capture them. And then sometime in the weekend or toward the end of the week, I kind of enjoy your good sense of humor, like your selection of music from time to time. And I just kind of get caught up on some of my stray learning. Now, wasn't that an interesting expression? Stray learning. And I know exactly what he means. He says, what really is true is that you just have a lot of different things about a lot of different things. Obviously, sometimes you're really focused, and I can pick up some ideas right there. But what I have discovered, and he has discovered it too, that oftentimes it's just that stray, interesting tidbit, that stray, interesting idea, that stray piece of learning that you all of a sudden connect, and somehow it helps make life and business on one particular problem or solution kind of work for you. Now, let me tell you something else. Stray learning, particularly if you're in sales and you have to do a lot of contacting and connecting with people, stray learning, it oftentimes just makes you a little more interesting. People just kind of enjoy hearing things that are of interest or different or unusual. And that is kind of the pursuit of the trivia that sometimes on a Trivial Tuesday might just help you to make a friend, make a relationship, have something interesting to talk about. And oftentimes, it is in the trivia talkings, just the things that connect people about things that they have of mutual interest, that actually helps build the business. One of my mentors said, Stan, first of all, be fully present. Number 2, shut up and listen. And then, third, be interesting. Have something that makes people smile. Have something that is just simply unusual from time to time. Oftentimes inspirational, sometimes instructional. Always, it's something that can perhaps someday be a bit useful. Well, that's what we're trying to do. Now, you know what that theme was, of course. The reason I play that is from time to time I'm going to remind you of something you need to know. Now, that was one of the classic television programs of the 1960s, years ago. And, of course, many of you know it was Rod Serling and the Twilight Zone. And that kind of a combination of mystery, science fiction, as he said, imagination. And it was a motley collection of all kinds of things that... and then at the very end of it, he had the closing line, which I use and love to this day. Because sometimes it was kind of far out stuff. Sometimes it was kind of out there. Sometimes you really didn't think you believed that. That was kind of on that UFO thing, which, of course, now they're finding out there may be more truth to the UFO thing than we thought. He would just simply say, for your thought and consideration. For your thought and consideration. But Rod Serling was a master of the microphone. He was a master storyteller. He was a master teacher, and he put it all together as a broadcaster. Now, one of the things that has simply been a fun part of my life since I fell in love with radio as a small child is that I took the broadcasting call serious. Now, that didn't mean that I made my living in radio and TV. Actually, not a very many of my years and jobs were actually in that category. But I was always there, always connected. Sometimes I was doing some full-time work in it, but it was always a part of the work I did. I was telling one of my friends today that a lot of my clients were entrepreneurs, and many of them suffered from maybe attention deficit disorder, maybe dyslexia, because the rate of dyslexia is 3 times the national average or population average for some reason. And what I did, rather than writing memos, which many of them did not want to read, I took my broadcasting skills. Actually, I had my old broadcast microphone, and I would make little personal postcards, 7 to 10 minutes, in which I would do a kind of a entertaining, maybe sometimes engaging. I gave it a sense of humor. I would report back to them, and I would tell them what I would want, and I got engaged with them, and I would send them what I simply today call a personal radio program or an audio postcard. And people liked it. They loved it. It was one of the best ways to stay in touch with my clients and contacts, and I was doing that even when email was in its infancy. They would get a audio postcard. Many of them were in those little cassettes at that time, and they loved it because they could just take it with them in the car, and they'd put it in their cassette player, and they could listen to it, and they could listen to it again. In fact, I got a number of recommendations that when I was giving some of my ideas or things, the person would take it and use it, and they would send it to a friend and said, "Hey, this is from my coach, Coach Stan. I thought that you might find this idea helpful." And I actually have one of my top friends, longtime friends, even a client and a participant today with the Christian Entrepreneur Network. And the way I met him is that I prepared a little audio postcard for one guy, and he liked it. He found it helpful. One of his friends, located a few hundred miles away, was in a conversation with him, and he said, "Let me send you the tape from my coach." And that was many years ago. And we are good friends to this day. And what I mean by that is the twilight zone is different. Things can change. And you today, you need to learn how to be a great storyteller, and that's coming up. As I say, you got to be a storyteller, and you got to have a studio. You have to be able to use the YTube, the YouTube channel, and you have to do exactly what I'm doing, oftentimes be right in front of that Yeti Blue microphone, which is a good quality one, but not terribly expensive. And I can create podcasts, audio programs, audio postcards, notes that I send to clients. In fact, I'm working with a client right now who is in Africa, and he just delights in a little bit of my American accent, and I send him audio postcards all the time, attach it to the email, boom, he's got it right there, and he responds back. So the world is different, the world is changing. Hey, just for fun, yet it really hit me, all right? I've always been a fan of Star Trek. And remember this. Remember during those Star Trek days, again, that was television in the 1960s. I'm dating myself, but those things went on and they repeated, and they still are going on. Remember, first of all, the computer could talk. That's right. You could talk to the computer, and it would talk back. Spock would say, "Computer." And then whenever they would go up to the door, it would open by itself. Remember that? The door opened by itself, and you could have talking computers. Now here's the joke. That was meant to be in the 25th century. Remember, the idea was that we were in the 25th century. Obviously, we haven't gotten warp engines yet, and we aren't involved in that kind of hyper travel, warp travel, where we literally go faster than the speed of light. But wasn't it fun to note that the talking computer, and what about the closing doors? Of course, those are right now things. It is true that the computer used to be, as we used to say, it's nothing but a calculator that goes very fast and can store data real fast and manipulate it real fast. But now, with that rather awesome thing called artificial intelligence, it's beginning to put things together. It's talking. And my friends, you may or may not know this, but most of you have experienced it. They even make decisions. The robots not only put machinery together and make hamburgers, they are simply called bots. That is where a word or something or a situation presents itself and the bot engages the action. All of that is happening. And many people are going to lose their jobs. You know, as I said, the robots will take your job in many ways. So here's what I'm going to simply ask you to do. Just be aware of those things. Be interested in those things. If you're an entrepreneur, you make the difference. Hopefully, whatever you're doing, you do it well, and you do it real well. But you are oftentimes the person behind the company. You are the company. You are the person people think about, and you are the one. And people come to you. People buy because of you. And you have to know and be known as a person with some demonstrated wisdom and insight. You have to be, have a sense of wit. You truly are a person of interest. And you are interested in others, and you are very personal. You are far better than a robot. And I just had an encounter with a financial organization, and as I said about one of them before, I was dealing with robots and people who acted like one. I had a wonderful experience, even though we had to deal with some difficulties. I was dealing with a woman, and I'll just simply say she turned out to be, even though it was a difficult situation, a very nice woman, and I dealt with a real human being. Not only a real human being, but a real nice person. And that's the way you make sure that the robots will not take your job, because robots may not be bad, but they'll never be nice. Think about that. They may not be bad, but they can never be nice. Let me give you a clue, something I want you to do now. Of course, I'm a broken record on this, but here it goes once again. The Wharton School of Business just put out a report July 17th, just a week ago, 2018. Check it out. How storytelling helps companies build rapport. All right? How storytelling helps companies build rapport. Now, perhaps you want to take a few seconds to look for it. You can check that out. Maybe you want to Google it right now. It is, literally, how storytelling helps companies build rapport. And maybe you want to look at that for a minute or two while I kind of explain it to you. And then we'll be done with our 20 minutes. I'm Stan Houston. We're here because the Christian Entrepreneur Network wants you to thrive. It wants you to flourish. It wants you to know how you can live a life of faith and finance and something that will build a future for your life and your business. So check us out at tcenglobal.org, tcenglobal.org. If you would like me to help you, and I find myself in the situation where every day people are asking a little bit for my counsel advice. Often it's free. If it needs to be more sophisticated, it may not be free, but it'll always be available to you. Again, my name is Stan Houston. You can Google me and find out all about me, as well as check out tcenglobal.org. And you'll find that I have a long lifetime of helping people perform at their best, make their unique mark in the world. A lot of new YouTube videos are going up there right now, particularly about the Christian Entrepreneur Network, and you'll find out more about me. So hopefully you'll do that too. Take a break and let's talk about storytelling. Well, here we go. Knowledge at Wharton, how storytelling helps companies build rapport, North America, books, business radio, and podcasts. And by the way, it was based on a book written by a storyteller, screenwriter by the name of Murray Nossel, who's not only a screenwriter, but a very fascinating character. He is a co-founder and director of Narrative. And what he's about is helping businesses build rapport through storytelling. Just briefly, this is what he said. Why is storytelling so important? Our brains are hardwired for storytelling. In order to survive, we needed to pass on information important for our survival to our next of kin. We did that through stories. We needed to share with our clan just what kinds of things to look out for in the world that were dangerous and other things that were the key to our survival. Because it's a hardwired brain function, it's the most powerful way of communicating messages to other people. Storytelling not only involves the intellectual function, but also touches something much deeper inside of us, which is the heart. It's something that connects mind to heart. That's why it's such a powerful mode of communication. And the crazy thing is, storytelling works best. It is the best form of communication. It literally gets action because sound creates action better than anything else. And it does what all good communication does. It not only hits the head, it syncs with the heart. And so what do? We email and text messages. We learn how to do things that don't work. And we're forgetting how to do things that have always worked. The smart people are going to do three things. They're going to continue to look for interesting things, to be interesting people. They're going to learn how to share that in storytelling. They're going to learn how to take their company and their business and their service and always sell it by non-selling it by telling stories. And they're going to create a place where it's easy for them to do that all the time. The office is also a studio for radio, television, YouTube, personal radio programs, audio postcards, and of course doing exactly what I'm doing right now, talking to you on the radio. I'm Stan Houston. This is Do It Right Radio. This is Right Now Radio. It's the Jesus Entrepreneur Experience. Thank you for your time. We'll be back. Here we go. Thank you so much. Please keep in touch. Tell me how I can help you even more. Again, studio, storytelling, learn how to do it. Have some good times with maybe, the Twilight Zone. All the best and blessings. We'll see you next time, perhaps tomorrow, if we can make it. I'm Stan Houston. This is the Christian Entrepreneur Network. This is the Jesus Entrepreneur Experience. He told stories and he asked questions. That's what he did, and he did it well. And so should you. All the best and blessings, and bye for now.